Welcome to Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. I am Justin the Voiceman Bandy, your host for the hour. I'd like to thank my board operator, me. This is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. This is our first show for Behind the Fourth Wall, and I really hope it's a good show. It's a bad thing sometimes that first shows are what they are. And this show, to give you a quick little synopsis, if you will, of the nature of this show, is that I'm going to be interviewing various guests, and they will be from our theater department here at PCC. And they will either be directors or actors or, makeup or whatever I can find. Whoever I can talk to, I'll talk to them. Because that's how I work. I'm trying to talk to you right now. Hopefully you're listening out there in the parking lot, because it's like the only place anybody hears us. Or if somehow you managed to actually tune in. So without further ado, let's introduce my first two guests. We've got William Hickman and Peter Newell. Hi, guys.
Hi. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Making it through.
Making it through.
No. So fun. Good times.
Fun, good times. Anything interesting while I was just over here doing my own thing? Did you guys have a conversation while I was silent?
We were just saying horrible things about you.
Really? Like what? I want to know.
I don't think they're fair games on the radio. No,
yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's right. This is we've got to be FCC friendly, so none of the 7 words, which kind of sucks. Sorry, everybody. We can't be like super fun because it's college. We got to be educational in some way or another.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Why would you agree with such things?
I think I'm paid to.
That's right, because Will is he's staff. He's full-time here. We've got a lot of adjunct facility or faculty here at the school, but Will, you're a full-time theater professor here at PCC. Yeah. Anything interesting happened in the last several months since you were last on my show?
Well, we've been doing a lot of things trying to increase communication in the department between our staff, but also between the staff and the students, so that we can get the word out more easily on shows, on independent projects. There are 2 new clubs that have started, the student-led art exhibit and an improv club, both of which are student-led, of course, clubs within the theater department, and both are active. So we're doing some new stuff. And then all of our new pieces this year, new season, we're really focused on student designers, student-created work. So much so that the first one act of the year is written by multiple students and directed by students.
Yep.
And the second one that it's about to have auditions is called A Nation of Immigrants, which will be devised with the help of Suzanne Hunt Jenner, but be devised by the student population.
I'm excited because I've already locked down. You were talking about the next show. Mm-hmm. We've got Will. 2.0, whatever, Will Ahrens, and Amanda and Akela, those two. Didn't they write the play?
Yes, Akela and Amanda have both been writing small plays because it's a series of plays.
It's a series of plays kind of similar to your Trepidation Nation was.
Exactly.
Okay. And I'm going to have them on the show next week.
Great.
And we'll be live at 5 o'clock. And I've also got Matt and Bernadette are going to be here on Thursday. Or some other time recording, and I'm getting as many people as I can from behind the scenes.
That's great.
So that we can get a number of people out there, just kind of talk about, the craft, but also just who you are as people. So, Peter, who are you?
I am a college student at Pasadena City College.
What's your name, Peter?
I believe I've forgotten.
Okay. Well, we'll just call you Pete.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Or we'll just call you the Dragon. I don't know what it is. I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with it. I won't be the last.
I don't think I've ever gotten that one.
The whole Pete's Dragon?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Wow.
Hey, maybe it's just because he's too young.
Yeah, probably.
So Will and I are about the same age. So
yeah.
I just turned 36 on Saturday. So.
Yeah.
Good.
Appreciate that. So, okay, my understanding, Peter, is that you're one of the ADs, one of the assistant directors.
Yes, I am.
For Will's show, and we didn't even talk about it. The name of it is what, Will?
It's called Sherlock Through the Looking Glass.
And that would be an amalgam, I guess, of Sherlock and Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Absolutely. It is a Sherlock Holmes mystery. But the author, who's a local LA writer, Gus Krieger, was trying to find his next show that he wanted to create, and he was always a fan of Sherlock Holmes, and then he was doing research and figured out that Charles Dodson i.e. Lewis Carroll, was lived in the time that Sherlock Holmes was set. Lived in London at the time that Sherlock Holmes was fictionally in London. So we had a real historical character, i.e. Charles Dodson, and the fictional Sherlock Holmes. So he decided to create a Sherlock Holmes story that involves Charles Dodson, and I'll tell you more about it later.
That sounds
I
good.
don't want to get wrapped up with plot and stuff yet.
Yeah, right. And then we totally like stepped all over Peter's words.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I get it all the time.
Oh, don't let that happen too much, man.
I'm fine with it. I don't want to whatever. I don't like to butt in and speak, and I'm bad.
Well, this
with
is
words.
radio, so you're just gonna have to get over it.
I'll be fine.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I heard something about Portland or Oregon or something along those lines.
Yeah. So my family, I was born down here in LA, and then my family moved up to San Francisco. I went to school there for however many years, and then I went off to college in Southern Oregon University in Ashland, and it's a great place, but it just wasn't the right school for me. So I came back down here, and I'm doing this now, and this is fun. I got here last spring, and I love it. It's amazing here.
And what about it is amazing?
I think Will Hickman is perhaps
come
the
on.
best thing that I have, whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, as he
yes.
speaks, he's bending over to kiss Will's butt.
Appropriately.
No, Will just
Even though
handed
Will's
me-
sitting on it. So
Yeah.
he's making a very hard
No,
effort to
Yeah,
do
it's
this.
very hard. Very hard. No.
Very hard to just slender over there.
Will is probably 10th on the list of things. He just took away the $5 he had given me earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, the theater
Take
department
backsies.
here, I came in and everyone, meeting everyone and working with everyone, it was amazing. All the people here, and it's such a wonderful community. Most theater departments are, but I feel like here, I got in and everyone was amazing here.
That is why in fact, it's one of the main reasons why I've decided to do this show, is because I wanted, last semester I had a sort of this combination of music and talk, and I liked the talk and I liked the idea of having a conversation instead of it just being, here, I'm going to ask you some questions, you tell me some answers, and I'll do that thing again, and we'll keep doing that for an hour. And it gets really boring really fast, and it's also really hard for me to do. Instead allowing it to be a little bit more freeform, and that's kind of the nature of the theater anyway. I mean, yes, there's structure to it, of course. Yeah. Anything that's successful has structure, but there's so much freeform, and as I've heard so many times, acting is reacting, and I myself have had some training here. Fortunately, I was in Will's class in my final acting class. I had Debbie Taylor as my second one, and
Awesome.
Or my first one rather, and then Will Aarons is my second instructor, and so I've had quite an array of different instructors, and I've learned a lot of stuff about it. And then, as you said, Pete, I've made so many friends here. I was just in the hallway talking to various tech guys and be like, who wants to be on my show, guys? Come on in, man. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. And that's also another thing. At some point, I'm hoping to do some more voice acting too.
Nice. Good.
I just want to remind people that you are listening to Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. This is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. I understand that, Will, you had a child, and I'm assuming that you still have one.
Yes, I do.
I would hate to find out
yeah,
why
that
you
would have
wouldn't.
been a
But
horrible thing if we had
be
been
like-
having that conversation right now.
yeah, I'd be like, I feel so bad.
No, he's a happy, getting fat, 11-month-old. He's
Yeah.
actually 11 months today.
Oh, okay. Well, happy 11 months,
Yeah.
Ollie.
Yeah,
It's
Oliver,
right?
yeah.
And I
he's doing great.
assume because of his existence, his presence in the world, that is actually going to be making your schedule rather tight nowadays.
It does. It's interesting to have to do that, but I know a lot of our students have kids as well, have family members, and we're all pulled in so many directions. That's just one of the things about teaching at a city college like this, that you have students who have all of those demands as well, and we have to create art and create these stories and do amazing work, while also taking care to keep healthy and take care of our people.
Get some sleep.
Right.
And I say this to everybody, including myself, because
Right.
I didn't get no sleep last night. I spend so much time caring for this show, even though it's like at the same time it almost makes no sense, because I mean it's just a college show, quote unquote, but at the same time, it's something I like doing. I want to do it, and so I put a lot of time into it, and a lot of things get sacrificed for it.
Yeah.
I try not to sack sleep for it though.
Good.
That was just because it worked until midnight and had a class at 8:45.
That's just my point. So
Yeah.
many students do exactly what you're doing,
Yep.
and they're driving with their passion. They're doing something that they care so much about. In creating this art, creating their stories, doing the radio shows, doing the dance department, music
Yep.
department, whatever those are, that they are pushing themselves harder than a lot of other students in more traditional universities have to.
And it makes me think, there's just this conversation is like, the show must go on has so many different connotations. You have an interesting
Absolutely.
reaction for this. I wonder why that is.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking back to the last show that I did, opening night for the theater department invited dress rehearsal, and one of our actresses jumped up onto the stage while practicing the fight
That's right.
before the show and dislocated her knee, and it was horrible. It did not get relocated, I guess. It was dislocated. It didn't get put back in its proper place until she was at the hospital.
Yeah. That's generally how they want to do that.
I guess so, but it was
Yeah.
she was in it was some of the worst pain I've ever seen a human being in.
Yeah. She seemed fine when she came out.
Oh,
I mean,
she had she was
a
wonderful.
trooper, yeah.
Yeah, she's an amazing actress, an amazing person. And she supported the cast after that. She did come back to the show to give a final little monologue.
Was that the only time that she came back?
Yeah, she came back, I think, one time.
I am so glad that I came then,
And it was
because I
really
saw her the
special.
night that she left.
Yeah.
And then when Inez, we're talking about you, you know that, if you're even listening. This will be up later for people to listen to anyway. So, but yeah, it was super moving, like when she came up on stage, and you're like, it was the perfect reveal too.
Yeah.
It was just like an emotional moment in a movie where she's like walking out on the crutches and has her knee brace and everything. And I had watched She Kills the first the night of the incident, and then I watched the very last one because I like seeing the differences between the two shows. And it was a little heartbreaking, but it was like in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good way of putting it. Heartbreaking in a good way.
heartbreaking in a good way.
But,
I'm glad
one
I
of our-
have the best words then.
One of our assistant directors stepped in that night with the script in her hand, but she only had her script for one night for that character.
That would be a Kayla, right?
Yeah, Kayla.
Who will be
Muncie,
on my show next week.
Yeah. So, Peter, if somebody goes down,
Yep.
You may have to take over. Are you much of an actor, Peter?
I've done a little bit of acting. I don't know. I don't consider myself like good at it.
Yeah.
But I've done acting, and I can probably do it if Will shoved me on there.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? We're going to have to take a short little break. So just stick around. We'll keep talking. Don't worry. This is Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. This is Lancer Radio Network, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. Welcome back to Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. This is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. So, all right, guys, we're back. Will and Peter here, and Will is the director for the upcoming play Sherlock through the Looking Glass, and Pete, you're one of his assistant directors.
Yep.
So, how did you go about getting that role of assistant director, Pete?
I worked as stage crew for the 12th Night over the summer, which is a Shakespeare play about like twins. And
That's probably where I remember seeing you. Then.
yeah, I was stage handing. I was just working that, and I had been building the set. But I asked the tech teacher, Eric Larson, I was like, oh, does Will Hickman need a assistant director for his next show? And he was like, I'll email him. And then I got in touch with Will, and I'm now assistant director. So
Eric spoke very highly of him, and Eric doesn't do that lightly. He's not a man to use words that he doesn't mean.
That's pretty true. Yeah, I had one class with him briefly last semester, and he seemed rather upset with the fact that I wasn't able to stay.
Oh, that's too bad.
But it happens.
Yeah. Eric is definitely a sweetheart, but he's definitely not one to pretend he likes somebody. Or pretend somebody's qualified.
Say he doesn't mince words, or is it something else? Okay.
I don't know.
Never remember.
I don't know what cooking words has to do with, like chopping up words has to do with it. But you're right. That is the phrase.
I guess that is the phrase. That is just. I got so little sleep last night.
He's not one to dice words or cube them or.
I like my food like I like my people.
Minced?
Nice.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm starting to get scared in here.
I don't even know where I was going with that, to be honest. That's a horrible thing to say.
And if you like jokes like that, check out the Not Too Terrible One Acts.
Yes, which will be, like I said, I'll be talking to them next week.
Absolutely.
Now, it words, choreography.
Yeah.
That's a word that I like.
That is a good word.
Is it a thing that you're going to like put in all your plays? Like fight choreography or just any kind?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I'm attracted to plays that have moments of violence, moments of combat between two people.
Really now?
Yes. Because
that tells a lot about Will, doesn't it? I don't know, maybe.
Moments of violence, moments of conflict. Yeah, because all plays are essentially finding that conflict. And when violence happens on stage, when they can't speak anymore, it raises the stakes to such a level that the action is, I want to kill this person, and I have to defend my life against them. That is a very pure level of conflict. And if we can tell that story on stage, which is very physically challenging to do, to tell it effectively, it is very much acting without words. So yeah, I'm attracted to scripts that go there, that have those kind of moments. But I try to avoid the conflict if I can tell the story in any other way.
Okay.
Because inherently, if you have two people who are throwing fists or knives or swords or axes or whatever, you're adding to the violence and the risk of getting hurt of the actors. And so that always has to be factored in.
That's true.
You can't add violence into a scene if it's not the most effective way to tell the story.
I remember, and I'm actually going to try to talk to Jess and Christian about fight choreography in a singular episode as well. I was trying to get Vanessa as well, but it doesn't seem like she's going to be able to do it on schedule.
That's too bad, yeah.
That's okay. I mean, at least 2 out of 3 is pretty good in most cases. It's usually how you win rock, paper, scissors.
Absolutely.
So, not so much the World Series, but I remember, Romeo and Juliet and, doing the various fight scenes and then incorporating it into the second production and then adding to it and doing all the variety of all that. It's funny though, because I'd never really thought of it the way that you had just explained it.
Yeah.
I never considered it as raising the stakes so much that now it's no longer words, it must be actions.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting look into the mind of the people because I mean, that to me is what acting is it is a study of humanity in so many ways, because one of the things that we learned was not to judge a character because your character is doing what they're doing because they have a specific objective. They have a specific goal that they're trying to achieve, and there's so many different obstacles that get in the way of it because of that, because of whatever it is. And sometimes you just have to escalate it.
Yeah.
And people sometimes die like Tybalt.
Absolutely.
And Mercutio and everybody else.
And it is so much about what you said, obstacle. Right? We want to watch characters having to overcome powerful obstacles. We do not want to watch a woman lift a tissue. We want to watch a woman lift a car. We want to see somebody overcoming massive obstacles.
Unless that woman is like the size of an ant.
Sure, great. And then the tissue is a massive obstacle.
Exactly. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again.
And there might be some characters in some moments that simply being able to lift a tissue would be a massive obstacle.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be an interesting character to watch?
In fact, that's a good point, because there's an episode of Scrubs. I don't know if how much you've watched, but it was a guy. He was former military, I believe, and he'd been in the hospital for a while. And at one point, he wrote his name.
Yeah.
And it was a jumble of messy letters and everything. I mean, it looked like he was maybe a 3-year-old writing his name. But to him, and I think this is why it stood out so much when you mentioned this, because to him it was it was huge.
Right.
Even though, like JD and the rest of the doctors, they probably write their names every single day.
So do we all.
And I know that at some point there was probably some voiceover that mentioned, dealing with the struggles and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it's fascinating that sometimes, I mean, my own personal experiences, I injured myself in the last couple of months, and I was in the worst possible pain I have ever experienced in my life for 10 hours.
Wow.
And I didn't think I could come out of it.
Right.
And all I was doing, I couldn't even sleep right.
Yeah.
Just moving wrong would send a spasm of pain through my whole body. And the sheer fact that I can now lean a little bit onto that arm right now, I take advantage of it. I take it for granted because I don't think about it so much until, I try to raise my arm and oh, wait, I can't do that anymore as much as I used to. Conflict is a weird thing. What kind of conflicts do you have to deal with as an AD, Peter?
Well, as AD, I'm working. I'm doing basically whatever needs to be done. So we didn't have a sound designer, so I hopped in and I'm designing the sound and figuring out all the sound and that stuff. So I'm essentially doing whatever needs doing. So if we're, say, an actor needs help with their lines, I'm there helping them run those lines and helping them do that. So I defer all of the major conflict to Will, and then I take on all the easy stuff like reading someone's lines and doing sound.
I imagine there's a fair amount of complaints that the actors also make about me that go to the ADs as a normal and perfectly normal thing. To let off steam and vent. We have to do that.
True.
Right? That's I don't take personal offense to that in any way. I don't mean that oh, they hate me. No, but sometimes you gotta let out some steam.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're frustrated at somebody. And that's kind of one of the jobs the ADs are there to do, is receive that and say, I'll pass that on.
Buffer zone.
He didn't exactly, so that they can either soften the blow so that person can just let off the steam, or if it's a major complaint that needs to actually go up the chain, they can take that to me and I can address the situation. That's part of their job. They are in a position of authority among their peers, which is always also drives conflict.
No,
that can be awkward, especially if somebody has. If there's an ego about them, or, and for whatever the reason is, it's oh man, this guy's 10 years younger than me, and I got to complain to him about this other dude who's almost my age. That would be weird for me if I was in your play and I had man, what? I have an ego problem, so.
No, you don't. And it's not a formal thing where we're if you have a problem, please address it to. No, it's not formal.
Please send
thing.
all formal complaints.
Exactly. There's always an open door policy, but the idea is, I think, with those ADs, not only can they fill in all of the roles, I also ask them for their artistic opinions on everything, and sometimes take it, sometimes don't. But that's okay. 3 brains don't always agree.
Too many cooks.
Yeah. I think there's a song about that.
Well, there's a video that was on Adult Swim that's literally just constantly too many cooks, and it's just a credit roll. It's 15 minutes long.
Yep, that's what I was thinking of. It's great.
It is a ridiculous piece of satire, and I love it. I want to say words, and because I have amazing words.
The best words.
I have the best words.
Yeah.
You said it earlier.
I did.
And I'll go ahead and agree with you.
Yeah. I said, if the president were here, he would agree that you have the best words. That's how good your words are.
Oh, well, that's perfect. I like that. So would you agree with that, Peter?
On the spot.
Yes, all of the best words. Yes.
Now, I'll just say it just because, I could just cut your mic or anything. That would be called not smart on any... It wouldn't even be smart on my behalf. What are you talking about? It's just be like, yeah, I'm going to cut your... No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to kill time because
Why?
Because time sometimes is fun to kill.
You wouldn't refer to it as an it if you knew it like I did. Time is a he.
What? Really?
Sorry.
Time has a gender in your mind? Or
It
is
does.
this
I'm giving it
line
a...
somewhere?
yeah, it's a line from Alice in Wonderland and also from Sherlock Through the Looking Glass.
Oh, okay.
If you knew time like I did, you'd call it a he.
Interesting.
Yeah?
I go ahead and elaborate a little bit on that after
All right.
the break. We're going to have to take a break here in a little bit. I mean, it's not like an immediate need, but we are kind of running a little low on time, interestingly enough. So we'll just, we'll keep talking a little bit while music plays under us.
All right.
And then,
You're just taking a break because you got to go pee, right?
no, because I have to follow rules.
Oh, okay.
It's this whole educational thing where we have to do things a certain way, and yeah, it's weird. Like we have to like go. I don't know. It's all crazy. Music's going up. So this is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. This is Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. We'll take a short break. We will be back shortly. Welcome back to Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. This is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. This is our inaugural episode of Behind the Fourth Wall. I'm here with William Hickman, director of Sherlock Through the Looking Glass, and his assistant director, Peter Newell.
Hello.
Welcome back, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Show's over.
All right. Have a good night.
No, wait, it's not over. We still have time. What am I doing?
Absolutely.
I just love like that quick, hey, what's up?
Yep. How you doing?
Yeah, that's good.
We've got rehearsal right after this, too.
Okay.
So it's going to be a good night. We're closing in on opening.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Next week is Tech Week, isn't it?
Yep, Tech Week.
This is why it was a good week for you to come in here.
Absolutely. Next week I will not be here.
No. So, actually, say what you were going to say.
Oh, I was just going to mention that we're going to have opening night on Friday the 13th.
Yes, we are.
Which is going to be extra good luck.
I'm gonna see about getting my tattoo and then coming back.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
I got to get that $20 13. I already got 4 of them. I need a 5th one because I got to get to that 13.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. Why not, man? I
Yeah.
got to get 13 totals, and then at one point I'm going to get like some background stuff. I've got an idea of like maybe some watercolor, or not watercolor, color by number.
Oh, cool.
Make it interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we were going to talk about time
Yes.
and Sherlock and looking through a glass
Right.
with
Well,
Alice.
Through the
Or
looking glass.
Through the looking glass.
Because, you've got Alice in Wonderland, which everybody kind of knows is the first of the series. And then Alice Through the Looking Glass is the second time, where she looks in a mirror and decides, I wonder what it's like over there. And thus she walks through the mirror into the looking glass world. And this play definitely deals some with the looking glass world. I don't want to spoil too many things, but all those characters that you know from Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass, of Cheshire Cat, the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, they're all in the show at one point, because there is a nefarious individual who will not be named until the very end of the show, because it's kind of a murder mystery, who is causing a serial psychosis, what they at some point call spontaneous serial psychosis, where people are going crazy in London, just going mad, saying the lines from Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass.
What?
Completely bonkers. And being sent to mental institutions, and of course this is Victorian England, 1880s, so mental institutions are definitely not the treatment facilities that they are today. They're much more prison-like. than anything.
Lobotomies, anybody?
Not today, thanks.
Lobotomies, get your lobotomies, yeah?
Yes. So exactly, and people are being sent to these mental institutions, Bethlehem Hospital, and we've got to figure out who's causing it and stop them. So we see the looking glass world at times too,
Interesting.
which is what the characters see when they're in the madness.
So now I definitely want to see this set. And you know what? I'm glad I haven't even walked in there yet.
Yeah.
Because I remember the adding machine, for instance, and the way that Josh Fleming, he's another professor. Is he full-time as well?
He is both with the speech and the theater department.
That's
so
right.
He's full-time here, but he's not just full-time with the theater department.
Okay.
So he's our speech and theater professor.
Awesome. I had a script writing class with him when we did round 2 of Romeo and Juliet, but then had to drop that because I had too much on my plate at the time, as it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, we didn't know that Romeo and Juliet was going to be a thing again.
Right.
So that also helped. But he had taken the Scream, the image, the Scream, and turned it into the set. Like that was how he envisioned the set for the adding machine. And when I walked in there, and there's this giant picture frame that's all like askew, and it
was gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Oh
set.
yeah,
Eric
absolutely.
Larson did an amazing job designing.
I'm hoping
that
to get
set.
him on the show if I can.
Good.
I want to see. I want to get that man's brain in here somewhere.
Yeah. He's good. He knows what he's doing.
And would you say that that's the case this time around too?
He did a great design for the show. However, we're not requiring very much from him on this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Still a
this
bit more
one's-
minimal?
Yeah, very minimalistic set. He's given us, when you come in, you're going to see some furniture pieces in a black set. We build upon that.
What?
So that eventually we have 14 bodies on the stage at the same time with a few different boxes. There's going to be some images on the ground, images on the wall behind. So we're definitely using, but it's more about the bodies in the space, and in this case, the lighting design. Which will really build in this world that is written to be zero set. The show was originally done by the Porters of Hell's Gate in 2013, and then they moved it to the Odyssey Theater, but still as the company, the Porters of Hell's Gate, which Gus Krieger is a managing director of, I believe. And they wrote it without a set in mind, because it jumps from location to location on the second.
So having a set would be a little bit more difficult.
It could be, yeah, because we're not setting it in one place. So of course, neither really was adding machine. It was constantly moving from one space to another. But we're using these boxes and cubes to give us levels and rolling stairways, to give us levels and shapes in the full space.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm every time I think of these plays, I'm actually kind of glad in a way that I'm not part of them, even though I'd like to be. I just don't have the time frame available. And I know I need to go. I need to go to the stupid auditions, and I keep forgetting. Or I'll go and I'll be like, nah, I don't want to audition for whatever reason. I don't know what my reason was last time. But at the same time, I get this idea of what the story is through the various people that I'm interacting with. And so in a way, I'm actually kind of glad that I'm not, because then I don't, maybe it's just an emotional thing. Maybe I don't invest myself into this inadvertently and then be like, I could have been the Cheshire Cat. Man, because you can tell, okay, so during the break, I was moving my mouth while my own words were saying things, and it was freaking these two out. And that was fun.
We were definitely thinking that you should audition for Macbeth.
Oh, yeah?
Which is Josh's next show, because it's
a parody,
absurd.
right?
It's not exactly a parody. It's more of a rewrite of Macbeth.
Oh, okay.
But it's a rewrite within Ionesco's style, and Ionesco is an absurdist. He's probably most famous as Rhinoceros, where most of the people in the world have turned into rhinoceroses, and these people are trying to decide whether they should, in fact, turn into a rhinoceros or not.
That sounds interesting.
It is, and oftentimes they're funny, but at the same time they're really, really poignant. And in this case, Ionesco talks about society as a downward spiral of kind of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Turtles all the way down.
Gets worse. It's turtles all the way down.
New book by John Green.
In this case, they're getting worse each time.
Yeah.
So it's like a really nice turtle at the top, but then a copy of a turtle, and then a Xerox of that copy, and until it
Quality
starts to
starts to
degrade.
diminish, yeah.
Exactly. And so this idea of a reciprocal violence that Ionesco saw in Macbeth, he uses as a theme to launch off of in
Interesting.
Macbeth. So if you know the story of Macbeth, then you're going to know the story of Ionesco's Macbeth, but it's going to be done in a really weird, interesting, strange way. And especially with Josh directing, it's going to be really, really fun, fascinating to do.
He's definitely been one of my favorites here because I've only seen, I've seen 3 of his shows now. I saw was Infested Mind, Adding Machine, and then obviously Raised in Captivity. And each one of them, it's just, there was something about, Raised in Captivity was just phenomenal anyway, just the amount of monologuing going on in that play, and each of the talent doing exactly, pretty much none of them are here other than Vanessa, and it was phenomenal to watch everybody do what they did, and then on top of it, it was a thing to behold. Josh's plays are a thing to behold. You should definitely see those, and I am hoping to get him on here so we can talk a little bit more about that.
You've got auditions for Macbeth coming up this Thursday and Friday.
Yep.
Is it this Friday? Thursday and Friday?
This Thursday and Friday.
What times?
It is from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Thursday, and then on Friday it will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then these will all be held in CA 107.
CA 107, that's the classroom, right?
It's a speech classroom, in the C. Oh, no, wait, CA 107? I'm not sure where
C107
it's
or
CA
107?
I think that's the theater. Oh, wait, no. Wait. No, never mind. That's his office. Never mind. That's his office.
That's your office, isn't it?
No, mine is C108A.
Oh, okay.
His is CA 107. It's real similar.
I
do that
see.
all the time.
It's CA 140.
140.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep. I just didn't read the right
So
place.
CA 140 went on Thursday, 5 to 8, you said?
5 to 8, and then 11 to 3 on Friday.
All right. So middle of the day on Friday and later in the evening on Thursday.
Absolutely.
So if you got time and if you want to be acting or even just audition, do it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, we always encourage people to, even if you can't take a part, tell us what your conflicts are, but audition anyway. It is educational theater, and we want you learning about the process of auditioning, not just in shows or in classes, but you've got to learn how to audition, because as an actor, that's your main job.
yeah.
Learning to audition, how to audition, and getting out there and doing it every single day is your main job as an actor.
Yep.
Your vacation's when you get cast.
Yeah. Because then it's like, all right, I'm going to chill out for a little bit while we, do whatever.
You get about halfway through that run, you better be auditioning again.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no lag.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes to film and TV, is entirely different than that of, I don't know how I could, I know for a fact that I'll never be like a hardcore actor because of just the absolute dedication that it takes. And plus I like doing this radio thing too. So, it's kind of hard to distinguish between the two, but there is something fun and just there's a connection with the world of acting, and that's why I'm doing this,
right?
Because I know that I can't necessarily do it the way that I want to, so I'll accommodate myself in another way, compromise as it were. So speaking of auditions, per your audition.
Yeah.
You had to do a bit of an English dialect for people.
Absolutely.
Got to be able to pull that off.
Right then. We're using a couple of different English accents for this show. We get Sandy Massey as one of our voice instructors. She came in to do all the accents for us. So she worked with everyone from more of the Cockney style to the very formal RP, which is much more of where Sherlock Holmes lives.
RP?
The royal pronunciation.
Ah.
Right. I believe that's what it stands for, but she could correct me. I'm not quite positive.
Sandy,
it's not my job.
She's got a show herself coming up soon, doesn't she? Or is it Suzanne?
Suzanne has a one act coming up, auditions for that at the beginning of next week.
Oh, okay.
Monday, Tuesday, for A Nation of Immigrants, which is a devised piece about that we are, in fact, a nation of immigrants.
What?
I know, it's revolutionary.
That's mind-boggling. It's like people didn't know that before.
And the idea is that the students will create pieces of theater based on their own story or their family's story. working together to create those stories, not a series of monologues, but rather a series of scenes, how best to tell your family's story. So I can't wait to see this. This is not one you can read ahead of time. It's not one anybody else is going to do.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
This is our students' stories told from the students' mouths. I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Well, you know what? That excitement is going to have to hang on because we're going to have to take
fair enough.
yet another break. I know, whatever. It's Lancer Radio Network, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. This is Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll give you some times on when to come see Will's show so that you can actually go watch it. Again, the first show is Friday the 13th, but there's more. So stick around. We'll be back. Welcome back to Behind the Fourth Wall, where we pull back the curtain, where we see it all. This is Lancer Radio Network, Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. I'm your host, Justin, the Voiceman Bandy, and I am here with William Hickman, director of Sherlock Through the Looking Glass, and his AD, assistant director, Mr. Peter Newell.
Hello.
Thanks again for having us.
Absolutely. I like having people here to talk to. It makes it more interesting and fun, and time goes by faster.
Asking questions of yourself would be a very different kind of show.
I mean, I can do it, but it's harder.
Especially the running from one side of the booth to the other.
I mean, I could pretend.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Billy, and I like to talk to Justin sometimes, but I don't really have a whole lot to say.
That is kind of terrifying. I like it.
Why?
I just like it.
I don't know why that's one of the voices that comes to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this weird, almost hick-like sound.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been able to do all sorts of weird stuff ever since I was a kid. I just wish puberty didn't ruin half of my talent.
I feel like that is true for just about everybody.
Yeah, it's
you
just
teach acting to kids, and you're to a certain extent teaching technique, but you never have to teach imagination.
Yeah.
For adults, then you spend the first years just trying to get back the imagination that they lost.
That's why I'm glad I'll be talking to the improv people too, because when I took improv, that was kind of like our instructor had asked us, why we're even there in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, society has taken great strides to essentially get rid of your inner child, and I want that kid back.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that performing in any sense, it's harder right now for me when I'm in my singing class. That's still a block that's really, really hard because it's so personal. I thought acting was personal. Oh man, singing is so personal. Absolutely. And that's where one of the biggest blocks is. Mm-hmm. If you can get the technique down and sound good,
right.
But then once you're able to actually get the performance in there, once you can get yourself and insert a little bit of that, if you will, love, then that's when you go to greatness. And it's stupid hard. Yeah. Especially because you're like, hey, these people might judge me, even though they're probably not. They're probably just like, I really couldn't do that either. It's just, you're constant, rarely does anybody ever actually judging you. It's mostly you judging yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And actors do that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were talking about how society has knocked the inner child out of all of us. We're told, even from childhood.
Except for you.
No, absolutely. It's me too, although I get to play with swords, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
No, we're told, from a very young age to be quiet, to shush, to use your inside voice. That women are crazy and men can't be mad.
Yeah.
Don't be emotional, women. Don't get mad, men. Men can't cry. We're to all of these things, all of these horrible
Nobody's allowed to be
sexist
emotional.
ideas. Yeah. And we're called all these things when we are, and yet we as actors, that's what we have to be. And it's not fake emotion. When we're in the moment, when you're there, the emotions are actually happening to you. It's more that you are affected by your emotions than you are affecting emotion.
Yeah.
The emotion comes up. It's the result of the imagination and a result of the work. But I feel like all of our actors, when we first start working with them, they're blocked. They can't access their emotions because they're told not to every day. So as soon as something starts to come up, they just tamp it down. Come up, tamp it down.
And that's also why you have to keep doing it, because it's just like anything else, you're going to lose it, as it were. And so by continuing to practice that vulnerability, that trust, because that's one of the things that I recognized what vulnerability really is. It's an element of trust of others. And that if you can't be trustful, if you can't be vulnerable, then it's going to be hard to trust anybody. But, when you're able to do that, it really empowers everything and it makes it so much better. But if you're not doing it, then you're gonna have habits. Right. You got to create a new habit in this, and that's why for me it's probably still relatively difficult to do some of the acting and stuff, because I just haven't been able to do it as often as I'd like.
Of course,
but I got other elements of me that I can insert into this whole radio thing, and so it is a little easier here. Will it ever be perfect, quote unquote? No, not necessarily, not so much. But, as long as we try to improve, I think that's what matters the most.
I agree with that. I don't think there is perfect in art.
No, despite how much we think there is.
Yeah. We're ever striving for perfection. But that is a
Constantly.
perfection that we will never attain.
Absolutely.
This is what we have to deal with as artists. And, one of those things I like about theater is that we are artists striving for perfection together. That we all get together to try to create something that none of us could do alone.
Come together.
All right, now we're talking Beatles.
Even though I'm not much of a Beatles fan, to be honest. No.
Just the late stuff, though, right?
I honestly don't even know. It's whatever appeals to me at the time.
Fair enough.
In general. Like, I don't really like a whole lot of country, but I still like a little bit of Garth Brooks.
Oof, no. I'm from Alabama. I can't get behind that. If it ain't Johnny Cash, then there's
okay.
Nothing beyond that, man.
Hurt.
Yeah,
it's not even originally his song, which is great. But that's the thing. Right. There's some covers of a song that just comes in and it just sweeps you off your feet.
Oh, absolutely.
And same thing with performances. When I saw Josh's, it was the play Raised in Captivity.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, wait. Because I had heard about the fact that the original doesn't even have an ensemble. And I'm like, what? But it's so good with an ensemble. It makes so much sense.
Yep.
To have Bernadette have her sort of other selves, as it were, to come in and reinforce the crazy, just her losing it against. I can't remember his name.
I can't either. It's been a few years.
It's been a while. But just losing it against her husband and just having those additional real people voices blasting out this anger at him was just phenomenal to see on stage.
Absolutely.
And they did this without people? They did this with one individual? Yeah. There's no way. There's no way they did it in a way that was that impactful. And I think that's what I like about having various directors do various things, because then you get to see and hear about everything different.
Yeah, creative solutions to the problems.
Yeah.
Right, what is it about the script that we can or can't do here, and what can how can we tell that story more effectively?
Anything that sticks out with you, Peter, in this whole play?
In Sherlock Through the Looking Glass, or in general? I don't know. It's a very interesting play. It's so. I've been I love both of those stories. When I was 13 for my 13th birthday, we went to go and see the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie. That was this whole dark reimagining of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
The Bandersnatch is this huge giant bear thing with the gnarly teeth, and I feel like this is and all this just twisted, not to a huge degree, but sort of this tainted fairy tale world. And I feel like that's a lot of what this show is, and I don't know. I've always been really drawn to that sort of like the like reimaginings of these sort of classic things, like the Percy Jackson series that was this book series of it's like a kid who finds out he's like a demigod and he fights all of these different like monsters from Greek mythology, like and goes on all these adventures, and just this sort of just taking the sort of cultural memory and like all of that stuff and like reworking it and being able to work with that and just make it something new and fresh, even though it's something that has been around for so long. So.
You know, it just fascinates me how much you can do with, I mean, just a play, just a play in of itself, let alone, you know, movies and the like.
yeah.
And did either of you guys play Alice, like American McGee's Alice, the video game?
I did. And yeah, years ago.
That was, I wondered, I'm curious if that game affected anything as to like how you're sort of envisioning this play.
Not that I'm consciously aware of.
Okay.
It is similar
game.
in that she was in the game. Alice is in a mental institution and is having to fight her demons to sanity.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, should I give a little spoiler?
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. Bad will.
You can spoil the game, not the play.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I will say this about the play that is not quite a spoiler. As I've already said, we see the mad world. We see what the people who are poisoned, who are given this madness, are seeing. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it is a nightmare version of Alice in Wonderland. Alice was 6, so her mad world was beautiful. And although threatening, it wasn't threatening in a malicious way.
Yeah.
But an adult who has the same madness sees chaos in a way that a 6-year-old can't. The 6-year-old is like, oh, I drink this medication, it makes me really tall?
Neat.
That's cool. Let me try it again and I'll get small. Great. You do one of those steps to an adult and they're screaming and blithering. It's just you can't handle that kind of chaos.
Yeah, because then they know the threat that is being smaller. They know the kind of threat they are if they're large.
Right.
And that kind of tears them apart mentally.
And of course, Alice in the Wonderland world, she has all these logical conundrums that she doesn't even attempt to solve, honestly. All these riddles that she goes, well, that's interesting. Because Charles Dodson was a mathematician and a logician, I think is what they call it. But he was a mathematician. He dealt with these ideas of these logical conundrums. And Charles Dodson, or Lewis Carroll, wrote this Alice in Wonderland world of illogic and chaos.
Yeah. You know what? It's time to go.
All right.
I hate that. But you know what? And what we haven't done is told you when to go.
Oh, that's right.
So either I can do it or you could do it, whichever. I think, Peter, I'll do it. You both are pointing at me. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, we're going to be having the shows on. Let me pull up my calendar here.
I already have it right here if you want me to read it out.
Go ahead, Justin. You sound pretty.
It is 8 p.m. on Friday, October the 13th. Friday the 13th. That is the first show. 2 and 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 14th. 8 p.m. Thursday, October 19th. That's the following week. And then 8 p.m. on Friday, October 20th. And then finally, 2 and 8 p.m. on October 21st, the following week.
That's correct.
And tickets are $15 or they're $10 with student or staff ID or senior ID, from what I understand as well.
Nice.
So that's it for Behind the Fourth Wall. Thank you both for coming on my first show for this time around.
Well, thank you, Justin.
I appreciate it heavily. I don't know what other words to use. Tired. I'm just super tired right now. Everybody out there knows, right? Check out BT4W, that's the number 4, BT4W.org to listen to this episode or any of the future episodes. And I am the voice man, Justin, the voice man Bandy. It's been Behind the Fourth Wall. I appreciate you listening if you actually did listen in. And I appreciate, like I said before, Will and Pete being here. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.